Good evening. The Week in Review. It's August the 15th, 2050. Just over a month ago, we reported predictions that the next 12 months would see a sharp rise in climate-related disasters. This week, the catastrophes that are already making those predictions come true. The flash floods in Italy this morning have already claimed 782 lives. The floods bring the total of weather-related disasters to 57 within the last 4 weeks. Casualties overall for the last month now stand in excess of 80,000. Fires are still ripping through California. 20,000 people have been evacuated and 200 are now feared dead. In Australia, bushfires have claimed 87 lives in the Sydney suburbs.
There are places today where we can glimpse what tomorrow may hold. Doug Kopp is today's foremost rescue engineer.
Process bacteria. And then we say here, 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 here. But no more disinfectant.
His job is to take apart the wreckage left by a disaster and search for bodies, or if he's lucky, for survivors. He has witnessed the horrors all of us may face in the future. In a sense, global warming is already a reality for him.
If someone was to ask me, Doug, we want to film a disaster, or we want to see a disaster, or we want something to do with a disaster, where do we go? And I would say, well, look, you know, your best bet is to go to Peru, because they are beaten down continuously every few months with one disaster or another.
Peru is plagued by El Niño, a weather event that hits once every few years, when a current in the Pacific Ocean suddenly changes direction. Whenever it strikes, it causes certain, irresistible and global disaster. The world is racked by floods, fires, storms and droughts. El Niño hints at the horrific future that may await us all, not every few years, but all the time.
Escuchamos un ruido demasiado fuerte.
We heard a loud noise, and from the direction of Simbal, we saw an avalanche.
Hemos visto que un alud,
Sludge, mud, rocks. It dragged along animals, trees, and ripped away all the houses.
Before we rebuilt, all this was in ruins. It was a disaster. Houses, gardens, everything.
All of this was in ruins. The El Niño flattened everything.
This is what global warming may one day do to us all. These ruins near Trujillo in the north of the country were left by a flood during the last El Niño. This, now a wasteland of rubble, was home to hundreds. In this single village just 3 years ago, more than 90 people died.
2011. 30 anos depois, as perguntas são iguais. Por que tragédias como esta acontecem? Por que não se consegue prevenir tantos danos? Será culpa do clima? Está chovendo mais que o normal? De acordo com o Instituto Nacional de Pesquisas Espaciais, as tempestades na região de Teresópolis, Nova Friburgo e Petrópolis fazem parte de um fenômeno que acontece todos os verões. É a chamada Zona de Convergência do Atlântico Sul. Montanhas, e transformar simples riachos em cabeças d'água devastadoras.
Ai, ai, ai! São parte integrante e natural da Serra do Mar. A Serra do Mar não precisa do homem para ter seus tão instáveis, desmatando, cortando, fazendo aterros, lixões, fossas de infiltração, potencializa toda essa instabilidade.
in the village that we visited, with a huge area of total and complete destruction, with even foundations gone, nothing left except a ring of debris that floated in from the river, and the traces of roads running through it. That was completely devastated, completely destroyed. Surrounding it are homes and half rubble. Next El Nino, in 3 months' time, they will be completely destroyed.
These images were filmed during an El Nino event in 1998 and 99. More than 20 natural disasters hit the country in less than a year. Flash floods and mudslides killed 2,000. Just as global warming brings the certainty that disasters will strike us all, so here they know that the next El Nino is never far away. Now, 3 years later, it's another El Nino year.
I think El Nino is an excellent example of what we might expect to face in the future as global warming really gets going. And when an El Nino develops, it has a knock-on effect across the whole planet, from sort of blizzards in Peru to floods in Central Europe to drought in Africa, drought in Australia. It has a global impact. And in that sense, El Nino can be regarded as a small example of what we can all expect.
Except global warming will be far worse. Its effects will vary widely, but science can already tell us what our future holds. The seas will warm. At the poles, the ice will begin to melt. Sea levels around the world will rise. In warmer countries, the cycle of dryness and rain will become ever more extreme. As more and more heat pumps into our atmosphere, crippling droughts will be followed by devastating floods. Entire cities will find themselves underwater. Everywhere, storms will become more savage and more intense. Nowhere will be safe.